Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back to our regular community. My goal is to share my decades of trading experience to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love, and also gain real wealth in the process. Let's run the numbers. Bitcoin currently trading at 46,711, up 1.14%. Ethereum 34.55, down 1%. I've hidden knowledge gems throughout this video. Unless you watch to the end, you'll miss them. See how many you can find. Rule 174, T-cube method, trend, timing, and trigger. We're going to look at trend using the KS process. The first thing we're going to do is look at KS real wealth analysis. This is all about life trend direction. Our community is all about real wealth. Real wealth is about inner and outer peace, gratitude and happiness, integrity, courage, honor, fearlessness, as well as money. In your emotional and financial lives, it's really important to understand Rule 956, embrace flexibility and change. As Brian Tracy said, be clear about your goal, but be flexible about the process of achieving it. This is true in all things in life. Our goals will be consistently put under pressure by life itself. We need to be flexible about the process of achieving whatever we set our minds to achieve. When we're not flexible, we can find our lives thrown into turmoil. Lao Tzu said, "A tree that is unbending is easily broken." It's often really difficult to apply flexibility into one's life, also one's finances. Flexibility is key to flowing with life. When life doesn't go the way we expect, we can feel that sometimes life is against us. Many things happen in life that we're really not happy about. Sicknesses, loss of work, loss of loved ones, so many things, financial hardship. When we consider Rule 956, embrace flexibility and change, it's all about harnessing the power of life. When changes enter your world, they are for your advantage, not your disadvantage. It's so hard to see that sometimes, but it's absolutely correct. Think back in your life to any particular event or series of events that you felt really bad about at the time, and think about where you are now. Were those events absolutely catalytic in you changing for the better, growing stronger, and helping to redirect your life in some way, shape, or form onto a better path? Embracing flexibility and change allows us to flow with life, to go with reality, what is, instead of fighting against it, instead of asserting that we need life the way we need it to be. Life is unfortunately not like that. Life just flows. In many ways, it's good to say to yourself that you can't change what happened yesterday, and you can't control what will happen tomorrow, but you can definitely do something about today. It's always important to be really kind to yourself. So many things befall us. So many members of our community have reached out to me and let me know what's kind of lives that they've been living. They're amazing people. So many different challenges and struggles, and those people are becoming stronger and stronger. It's so beautiful to see. If you're going through something at the moment, please, I just want you to know that we're here as a community for you. Crypto can be life-changing in so many different ways. The crypto community, the good part of the crypto community, is really, really good. It's full of very beautiful and wonderful people, very kind people who want the best for others. If you can find a way to flow with life and not fight against it, not only will you have more energy, but you will be directed towards the path that only you can walk as an individual. You're very precious. You've been put here on this planet for a very distinct reason or set of reasons. Flexibility is nothing more than redirection to the path that brings out the best in your life. It's really hard to be directed and redirected, there is no doubt. But if you get the philosophy that you're just being gently or not so gently placed on a different path, a path to being more of the authentic and real you, it can be really, really helpful. I'd like to thank the very kind and generous members of our community who reached out and bought me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/cryptotradingks. I'd also like to thank Samantha Badri for reaching out and sharing her story. Each month on the Coffee Club, I just share a little video as my way of showing my appreciation for people's generosity. In the last video I sent out, I just explained a little bit about my past history. On my 48th birthday, I was in Las Vegas in the US, and I had a bit of a turn and I ended up in the hospital there. Not a very good birthday present, but what they actually said, they ran a lot of tests and they said that I had glioma, which is a very, very nasty form of brain cancer. And they said my body would die in 3 months, but I had 4 weeks to live until my mind went. And basically I said, hang on a second, it's my birthday. This is not a very nice birthday present. I'm not buying it. And they basically told me that I had to immediately start chemo and just go through the process. And in all likelihood, I would be dead within 3 months anyway. And I basically said, well, I'm here. My family is in Australia. I'm going back to Australia to be with the ones I love. And I hopped on the plane, and basically the medical professional said, you will likely die on the plane ride home. And I said, well, I'm going to die either way, so okay, what does it matter? At least I'll die trying. But deep in my spirit, deep in my soul, I said, I cannot die. I have not finished the work that I was sent here to do. And that work was to share my various discoveries, to attempt to make the world just a little bit better place, especially within corporations that treated their people so badly. I developed whole branches of mathematics to financially value the value of people, not just their cost, something that is so lacking in the world today. Samantha Badri, her husband went through cancer and unfortunately lost his life. I'm so sorry to hear that. He was a great teacher and a teacher for many that left behind a great legacy. And Samantha Badri's purpose is to continue the projects that her husband started. I think it's so beautiful. That's really, really good work. Thank you, Samantha Badri, for sharing. I would also like to let people know that if you are in a challenging medical situation, refuse to get beaten. What I mean by that, I've been around sickness for a great degree of my life, unfortunately to say. And I know that when people fight diseases, when they mentally say, I am not succumbing to this, I will survive this, something magical happens inside. There have been so many examples of people who have beaten different things by just purely having the will to live. Not just for them to live, but to be a blessing to other people and to go out there and spread goodness into the world. There's something about it that is so powerful. And it's not just about sickness, of course. There are many issues that can perturb our lives. If you're going through one of those things at the moment, just know our community's thoughts are with you and my thoughts as well. Whatever it is, you will be triumphant. You will find a way. The next thing we look at is investment substitutability. Crypto is just one asset class that people can invest in. The proxy for stocks, the S&P 500, is up 33% over the past 12 months. Gold down 8%, and Bitcoin over the past year is up 350%. Let's have a look at the Bitcoin trend. The first thing we do is look at the KSModel, which is a crypto technical trading model based on institutional price psychology. We are currently in the bull market psychology phase of the particular cycle. When we compare back to past bull market psychologies, we're comparing sunlight of the bull market psychology to sunlight to sunlight. The darkness hits when the rocket of the bull market goes rocket, rocket, rocket up to the moon. The rocket hits the moon, hammering in the bull market high, and the moon says, "Get out of here, rocket, go back to Earth." And that starts the bear market. The bear market basically is the rocket coming down to Earth. When it finally lands, that's called capitulation. That landing is when consolidation begins. The rocket is rebuilt, and then when the halving occurs again, the rocket takes off. It's critically important to compare like psychologies, sunshine to sunshine, darkness to darkness, dawn, which is consolidation, to dawn. That way we're actually obeying the law of mathematical consistency, comparing apples to apples. That gives us meaningful understandings. Let's zoom into this area, the current price action. Just before we do that, let's have a quick look at the RSI, relative strength. We've seen that the relative strength increased, and now it's decreasing back to this support line around here. The thing in the crypto market, it's a little bit uncertain at the moment just how deep this particular correction will go. It basically came out of nowhere, so we need to be aware of what comes next. We need to keep a really close eye on this. Zooming into the current price action, we can see that this very unexpected severe dump, it was totally expected. And I put it in before this thing even happened that we expected a retracement, but no one foresaw such a sell-off. So much shorting came into the market to liquidate the long positions that it was just unheard of. But the important thing is we have flexibility. We've just got to deal with the price action as it is. We can see price currently recovering. At the moment, everything is on par, but we do have to be aware that when we get such unexpectedly strong drawdowns, we should go to a risk minimization position. That is, we look at things and say, we need to be a little bit mindful of what is actually occurring now. It's always important to look at past cycles to gain some kind of understanding. We can see that we've come down about 18.63%. Just zooming out a little bit, we came up about 81% and then we went down 18.63% in just a single day. But we came up 80.76% over 49 days. On-chain data has us around this position, around the end of July in 2017. What's really interesting here is that the market rallied 60.55% up in 4 days. In 6 days, it came down 18.31%. So we can see we've got similar magnitudes in play, but this has happened very, very differently. For example, there was 4 days to come up 60.55%. In this cycle, we came up 80.76% across 49 days. In last cycle, we came down 18.31% across 6 days. In this cycle, we came down 18.63% in 1 day. This cycle is realistically very, very volatile compared to the last cycle. You'll see a lot of memes go around like, I bought the dip and how much did you make? Negative 45%. The thing with dips is to always understand that they can come in waves. We're just anticipating that we may get another wave down. We've got very, very strong support at the 40,489 mark. That's a very critical level in the crypto market. We've also got very strong support at the 44,356 mark. It's just helpful for you to understand how basically violent the price action is in crypto. It's really crazy stuff compared to the stock market. Think about this. In the last cycle, came up about 61%, then down 18%, then up 87%, down 20 odd percent, up 38%, down 40%. These are crazy waves. It's going to be a roller coaster ride to the top. It really depends if you're trading or just holding for the long term. When we think about the analysis Fidelity Investments put out recently, they expect $1 million per Bitcoin by about 2026 and 10 million around 2030. It would have been really hard for people to fathom that something that literally began at 1 cent could end up being currently $46,436. It's just mind-blowing, isn't it? That is for quite a few different reasons. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoins. There will never be any more, and therefore it is deflationary. It's also decentralized, outside central government control. It bypasses the financial system and banks the unbanked. But realistically, the most important characteristic of Bitcoin, it is the foundation of the next evolution of the internet of money. So this volatility is quite inherent in the crypto space. It's nothing like what happens in the stock market. Corrections of 10% or more are very bad in the stock market, but they don't occur often. 20% or more is rare. But with crypto, 10% is typical on any particular day in the week. 20% is every other week. It's really important to understand this volatility. It can also be your friend. We always seek to make volatility our friend. We love to hang out with volatility, but in the right way. Rule 111, crowd psychology creates price. Currently an average of 19.2 million new users to the crypto space are being added every month, and they're being added every month for the past 6 months. That's a lot of people. But effective, not so much. Less than 1% of the population has an active Bitcoin address, and less than 3% of the global population actually holds Bitcoin. It's got a long way to go to reach mass adoption. When more and more people come into a market, we get euphoric blow-offs, euphoria, which tends to hammer in a high, either a midterm high or a total high. We also have things like capitulation, which is the opposite of euphoria, which tends to hammer in the bear market low. Of course, we get capitulation with black swan events, and black swan events can happen literally at any time in any market. From the longer term perspective, what you're seeing is the growth of the next evolution of the internet. And this is really, really important to understand. If you understand that, you know what you're actually investing in. That's really, really important. A few community members asked that if we could cover off Bitcoin number of addresses with balances greater or equal to 10. What do you see when you look at this chart? It's a pretty interesting chart, isn't it? You can see this bull market psychology here playing out. Now you can see the bull market psychology here. What do you notice? It looks like the number of addresses with Bitcoin balances greater than 10 are decreasing. This looks really bad, doesn't it? One thing that I'd just like to make you aware of, in my past, I was a lecturer of first and second year statistics. What I saw was the media continually misrepresenting or misunderstanding charts and diagrams. I'd just like to let you know what I see here. If we zoom in to this particular position, which is just about where we are in terms of on-chain data, we can see that there were 149,039 addresses. The key here is the price. The price was 26.62 at that point. So there was 396.79 million, just call it about 400 million in the market at that stage. As we came up close to the top, there were 150,529 addresses. The price had gone up to 17,000. Near the top, it was literally about 20,000. This is just close, giving you an idea. But what we see in the market, there was about $2.7 billion worth. Now if we look across to the current action, what do we see here? Nearly $6.8 billion being held by these addresses. That's why you have to be really, really careful about how people interpret, for example, the number of addresses. If all the value of Bitcoin was the same, then we could derive some kind of analysis and it would be reasonable. But the value of Bitcoin is consistently changing. It's really important that you don't get sucked into narratives that don't actually dig into the data. Part of my job lecturing first and second year stats was to actually take the students through this and help them to understand what was actually going on underneath graphs and underneath charts. What's our conclusion from this? If we understand, looking back, there's far more value in the Bitcoin market right now than there has ever been back in previous bull market cycles. It's all about understanding what is going on inside the engine. A lot of people, knowingly or unknowingly, and I think it's mainly unknowingly, they will create all sorts of analysis that I just look at and say, what are you doing? Please reach out anytime and let me know what you would like me to analyze. I'm always really, really happy to go through and be of any assistance I can to our community. I've also seen a lot of creative interpretation of spent volume age bands as well. People have to be really careful of how they actually analyze on-chain data. There's some good people out there for sure that know what they're doing, but I can see so many people just try to make things fit a narrative. That's not so good. We just need to let the probabilities speak for themselves. If you look back on past episodes, I've done this in the trend video previously. Keeping the long view model in your mind, we're in phase one. This is the psychological sunshine of the bull market. We're literally just getting started. But a lot of people think it's all over before it's begun. I think those people don't actually understand that Bitcoin is far more than just a plotted graph. It's the internet of value. It's the most disruptive technology that we've ever seen on the planet. Well, it basically rivals the invention of the wheel. It's going to change everything. We look at the Bitcoin stablecoin supply ratio, SSR oscillator, we can see stablecoins are flowing into the market at a decreased rate and they're not being pushed into Bitcoin at the same rate that we saw previously. This kind of behavior may exhibit that there is another down leg possible. We just have to be aware of those things. Everything I do is to help you to be not surprised by things that occur in crypto. And we know crypto is so volatile, almost anything can happen. Turning to Bitcoin's technical analysis, we can see this really big sell down that occurred here. There was a lot of support around the $50,000 psychological level. Literally $3.22 billion worth of longs were liquidated. When they were liquidated, they had to sell at market to cover their positions. What happened was the price got driven all the way down to $43,000, under $43,000. We've seen price improve a little. It's moved across this resistance. It's making its way up. But the critical thing is it getting over. Bitcoin needs to get over this level of resistance to repair this technical damage. We just need to be aware that we could get another wave down. That's not a problem if you're buying in layers, seeking to lower your average buy price. As you've seen, everything is looking really good for the long term. It's these short-term movements that are often really difficult to deal with. They require a lot of flexibility in the approach. Hopefully we're going to get a bounce from this current level of price action. Bitcoin is currently 46,447. We've got support below at 45,830, 45,268, the psychological 45,000. We see that held up particularly well, and it's not surprising that it did. We have lower levels of support, 44,602, 43,853, and 43,249. Let's just keep our eye on things. I just want to bring this to your attention. Please prepare yourself psychologically for price potentially to wick down all the way to 35,000. It could happen. If that happens, I believe it will be short-lived. But in crypto, we never know what can happen. We can only use probabilities. The probability is that it doesn't get down there. But if you are prepared, you're much better off than people who are not prepared. We also keep our eye on futures open interest across all exchanges. We can see we had a very big increase in open interest and then a collapse down. We know that there is a strong association between price and total open interest. What have we seen here? Total open interest has decreased to about 12.9. We need to keep this in mind. When you're actually looking at entries into positions, you can probably buy much more cheaply because this level of total open interest is not at the same level as it was yesterday or higher. This is exhibiting to me, when I look at this, I say to myself, there is a potential for prices to go down further. I think it's really important to just in your mind say that dips last more than one day. They can last 3, 5, 7, or even 9 days. We just need to bear that in mind. This one has been particularly severe. The long-term outlook has not changed. We know where Bitcoin is headed from the trend. However, it's important to be able to ride out this short-term turbulence, and you know a lot of it is coming. You can expect 30, 40% drawdowns to be occurring as we go forward. It's just good to get prepared. When we have a look at Ethereum, the number 2 in the crypto space, we can see this particular resistance line has been turned to support, but we need to get a resumption off there. Currently, Ethereum is trading at 34.23. We really need to see Ethereum up over the 35.15 mark. What this shows me is there could be potential weakness in Ethereum. If we combine this with the SSR oscillator, the amount of futures open interest, we can see that it's not too unreasonable from a probabilistic stance to expect that there could be some negative price action. One little technique we have to gauge market health is that we look if stable coins are in the 24-hour top percent gainers. They are not. Also, they can turn up in the 7-day top percent gainers. That is certainly not the case now. We can see some really underlying strength in the crypto market. It's just important that we factor in and be aware of anything that can derail the current trend. Let's just have a quick look at the top 8. We can see Bitcoin on the weekly basis. We've got a very strong weekly support line coming up here that will activate at 39,000. That's also some good support in there as well. Good to keep these things in mind. For Ethereum, we can see very strong support at 3189. See the weekly support coming up, activating at 2703. When we look at ADA, ADA has very good support at 2289. Having a look at Binance Coin, very good support at $393.60. Going across to XRP, 80 cents is a key support level. Looking at Doge, Doge has a reasonable support level at 24.55. A key support level for DOT is 24.09. When we look at Solana, Sol has gone a little bit bananas, which is fantastic. Good on you, Sol. We can see strong support 130.11, also down at 58.38. I wanted to do a special episode just helping you out, understanding where you were in the trend and potentially what is coming up. I would suggest just be careful at this particular time. We've seen a very significant sell-off in just a single day. That's not normal price behavior. We need to just be flexible and to look at things and say, okay, this is the situation. We just need to deal with that. And that is what markets are all about. We just deal with the realities. Just like in life, we have to deal with the realities of life. We get curveballs in the market all the time. We need to deal with those too. But this is not entirely unexpected. The severity was a little unexpected, definitely. But this is just crypto. It is a crazy, volatile market, and that's what gives the incredible returns to. I'm just going to quickly whip through the rest. Let's have a look at health. We can see the weekly percentage case change is down by 9%. That's very healthy. We notice that there are a lot of negatives showing up in that column. That's also great. Let's turn to the market indexes. Around the world, we see some red, especially in Russia and the US, a little bit in Canada, but we see some green as well. Looking at the US indexes, we can see the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, all came down. When I look at this, what I see is a very weakening upward progression in prices. We have to be aware of this. If we were to draw a trend line in with our eye, this is actually underneath resistance at the moment. This is that's the NASDAQ is under resistance. We do the same with the S&P 500. We can see the same. We can look at the Dow. The Dow is showing weakness. The Russell is also underneath this resistance. It's also showing weakness. We need to be aware of these things. We can see that the DXY has also come down in value. This is actually a good sign. If the DXY is a proxy for moving money into safe havens, like a stable coin in the crypto market, we're not seeing that behavior. That's actually quite positive. This is the issue with looking at economic data. You can see a lot of things. You need to have a lot of confirmation from a lot of different angles. We can also see the precious metals and the metals such as copper. Copper really came up, gold came up, silver came up, palladium and platinum also came up. Treasury bonds can give us an insight into how the market is feeling. We can see the 20-year plus Treasury bond the TLT, it's getting close to breaking out of this resistance that it's in right now. If you drew a line across here with your eye, that's potentially crossing resistance, but not yet. It's still under resistance. But it's really important to understand we have had an uptick in bonds. If the bonds powered through and went exponential, it would be a risk-off activity. Risk-off just means that if you are not a long-term hodler, you would seek to just book in profits. We're not seeing that just yet. When looking at bond yields, a collapse in bond yields signifies an issue inside the economy. We can see the 30-year Treasury bond yield, the TYX, is getting down towards its support line. If it breaks under this support and sells off wildly, that would mean that we need to manage the risk on positions. That is not happening at the moment. It's just really important to keep in mind how these things all work together. We can see the TNX is coming close to support as well. We'll just keep an eye on these things. What we really would want to see if there's a risk on event, which means that we need to book in profits, would be a collapse of these below that support. We'll just keep our eye on things. Comparing Bitcoin to inflation expectations, the inflation is making its way up. That is actually a really good thing. When inflation starts to fall through the floor, deflationary expectations, that means that people just don't have money to buy things. There's a reason deflation tends to occur. Deflation can also occur. Inflation, hyperinflation can also occur when there are economic downturns. But the basic rule of thumb is that when people don't have money, they can't afford to buy things. So people tend to compete by lowering their prices. When comparing Bitcoin to the transportation indexes and airlines, we can see airlines recovered a little bit from the last session, but these transport indexes are showing weakness. They haven't broken down. They're still wobbling around a range, but it's basically an uptrend. We just need to keep our eye on things. But the critical thing is, if we were to see big sell-offs, that would indicate to us that we need to book profits. That is currently not happening. Having a look at Bitcoin compared to Brent oil and crude oil, it's kind of the same thing. When these indexes break down and dramatically plummet, that's the time when you want to be really concerned about booking in profit. And it always depends. If you're a long-term hodler and you're in it for the long run, well, that's the time to dollar cost average in, but always time it to the best of your abilities, because crashes tend to last more than one day. We talked about rule 956, embrace flexibility and change. In our community, we just deal with what is. We think along the terms that price reveals its reality to us each day, day by day. You can see, looking across the markets, there are some red flags, but they're not burning red flags of any sort. But that doesn't mean that we go and abandon risk management principles. We just realize that price is negatively biased. Everything looks reasonable so far, but there is some weakness. Please just bear this in mind. I hope you found the content useful. Please consider sharing and liking this video if you think it will help others. Thank you to our moderators for keeping our community safe from scammers. Please say hi and let me know if you have any questions. If you're in a position that you feel that the world is against you, that things aren't really working out the way you had envisaged, a potentially good way to think and recalibrate is find something good within your life and give that every ounce of positivity that you can bear towards that particular thing. There's always something to be grateful for, no matter what is happening. I remember when I was diagnosed with cancer and told that I had 1 month to live effectively, I just remember looking at life with completely different eyes. I saw beauty everywhere. And this, I haven't told anyone this inside the community, but 6 months before, my sister was given 3 months to live. And it was correct. She did die within those 3 months. So I was reeling from the loss of my sister. 3 months later, I was given 4 weeks to live. I tell you, there's a way to find beauty in every moment. I'm talking from experience. I'm not academic when I say that I understand the things that people go through, and I'm totally there for you. Please be there for yourself too. Be loving and kind to yourself. Understand that the sun does come out. Things will get better for you. I can assure you. Just have a lot of hope and a lot of faith in the future. It's worth it. Please remember, crypto is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.